that, but it'll take like 10 seconds. There's about a 10-second delay. There we go. All right. I see us both. Mac, say something. Test your audio.
Hello, hello.
All right. Can everybody see and hear us? Sweet. All right. Tim says he can see and hear us, but Mac, you can't see me. But I guess you know what I look like. That's probably.
Yeah. I see myself moving in slow motion.
There you go. This is the Jack has some echo. What does he need
But
to
I
do?
don't see anything. I can talk without seeing anything. It doesn't matter.
Mac, I think we're getting some feedback on yours. Mute something. I don't know what to mute. All right, now talk.
Hello?
Yep. Did that help? He muted something. Did that help? Nope.
You mean close Discord or?
Yeah, close Discord because it might be looping that back through.
Okay.
Eat to Surf said it makes you sound very important. So I bet you it was.
How's that any different than normal? Okay, close Discord. Is any better?
Okay, that did not help. He doesn't have the stream open. Whoever said that. Tim, he doesn't have the stream open. Though Laura does. Is Laura near you?
No, she wasn't there.
Okay.
Should I open up Twitch?
Sure. No, what it's doing is you've got something on that is probably Skype or your computer's speakers are on. So when you speak, it's kind of sending it back through twice.
Okay, let me mess around with the Skype stuff.
Okay, they said they can deal with a little echo. Okay, turn your audio off.
Okay. My audio off?
Yeah, well, look, at this point, it's like 6:25. I think we'll just have to deal with some echo on this one. Or it'll be 6:50 by the time we start talking about Castles and Crusades. Well, how does he mute himself? If he mutes himself in Skype, then we can't hear him. And he doesn't have Twitch open.
How about now? Is that any better?
Did that help? All right, Tim said just bring it on.
Let me turn my speaker off. That won't be able to hear you though.
Yeah, it's not going to. It's going to be an interesting discussion. They said you sound like God, so let's just go with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All I can hear is you. Is that the way it should be?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I have to mute the stream too on my end. There's no telling what's going on. This is one of the things that Chuck was going to cover on his end, but with all of his craziness. So for those of you who don't know, I'm Stephen Chenault, CEO of Trollard Games, and this fella sitting next to me, he's not technically next to me, he's, I don't know, a couple hours away, is Mac Golden. He founded Trollard Games. He and I founded Trollard Games with my brother back in 99, and Mac is the co-creator of Castles and Crusades, the siege engine that powers all of the games that we've been putting out. Mac, you got anything to say? Introduce yourself.
I'm taking this over just like I do Steve's normal games. Taking over, catching him by surprise.
You do always take over, don't you?
How do I change this background? What is this freaking background I got here?
I don't know what you got going on there, dude. I just thought that was part of Heber. You wish it was part of Heber.
Why am I in slow motion?
I have no idea. Yeah,
all right. I'll just sit here and talk. So.
There you go. Yep. Now they can see you though, just to let you know.
I understand.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So just to let you guys know, Mac played. This is part of the thing we tried to put together on Tuesday. Mac played amongst 400 million other characters. Mac played Aristobulus in what we call the big game, and from all of that came, just years and years and years of gaming. But Mac, what he was alluding to is he frequently kind of gives some direction to the party when we're running games, when we do it.
That's one way to say it.
Yeah. Yeah. Pete was already complaining that, and his crew, no one will make up their minds, so he's got to just decide. And then they're all kind of grumbling at him for deciding. I said, this sounds very familiar. But tonight, for any of you all, if any of you all have questions for what went into the creation of Castles and Crusades, Mac is the guy to talk to. Last night, one of you all, I can't remember, had a really fantastic question and that I didn't feel comfortable answering. I think the question, I'm going to punt this to Mac, I think the question was, what inspiration went in or drove the creation of the skills in the various classes for Castles and Crusades? So Mac, I won't punt that over to you.
The skills or the attributes?
Let's do both. Because I talk all the time about that whole ranger fighter thing. That, whether it should be the strength. Strength should be the ranger's thing. So let's hit them both.
All right. So the way I remember is we started off with the classic classes, right? The 4 main classes, and obviously from the beginning the decision was we're going to base the game entirely around the main attributes, and the siege engine was not created at the very beginning, but it was the ultimate result. But the ideas of the siege engine were there at the very beginning, right? So fighter, cleric, thief, and wizard were the 4 main classes, and obviously they fall into the specific attributes, the classic attributes. I think originally, Steve, I think we were just going to do 2. We're going to do two classes for each attribute, right?
Yeah, that was.
We're going to have 12. And Davis didn't want that. He wanted an extra one because he didn't want an even number of classes for some strange reason.
Well, and there's also we were trying to keep it with AD, in tune with AD&D, so that was part of it.
Yes. So yes, that's also true. So for example, the monk and the assassin were not in the original drafts, I don't believe, but we decided to keep with AD&D, but we're going to include all the original classes. And so you naturally had fighter, and you had cleric and druid fall into wisdom, magic and illusions fall into intelligence, thief and assassin into dexterity, paladin and the knight and the bard. The knight was basically kind of an offshoot of the cavalier, of course. Paladin, knight, and bard fall into charisma. Even though the paladin was a strength class would be a strength class according to first edition standards, we didn't think that fit. Because we wanted to boost up charisma as an attribute also, right? So charisma is also like your willpower. And with the paladin, we thought he would have one of the strongest willpower, so we put him into charisma. So then you're left with constitution. There was a lot of discussion, disagreement, and even arguments over the ranger. Because the ranger could have went strength, dexterity, or con, right? And there were champions for each of those attributes. Eventually, we went with the ranger under the fighter because the idea is he's kind of your special forces type fighter. And we put him under strength. The idea to bring in the barbarian into Constitution helped solidify that, and then the monk put him into Constitution because he's kind of a master of his own body and self-control. Anything you remember, Steve, that I'm leaving out?
I remember, just to let people know, when Davis and Mag began putting Castles and Crusades together, that would have been about 2003, give or take, somewhere around in there, maybe a little earlier. We knew that the D20 market was going to crash, and there was other motivations. Gary needed something, and I needed something that I was more passionate about. And Davis and Mac began putting it together, and I had very, very little to do with the rules. The only real thing that I did when they wrote a rule for the siege engine or classes or whatever is they would throw it to me, and I had to be able to read it and understand it in one pass. If I didn't understand it in one pass, I kicked it back to him because we really wanted it to be simple, and I'm the guy for that. So it's because I don't like to read rules at all.
Yeah, and that worked out. I mean, that worked out marvelously in the end because it drove me crazy at the time because I thought Steve rejected a lot of great ideas that we had, but in the end, it fit the concept we were going for. It fit the rule set, and it helped us hone down some of the more complicated things that probably, if they had made it in, would not have been successful in retrospect.
Yeah. It was the only real thing I remember that kind of spilled over into my offices was the long, hard debate about whether the Ranger would be a fighter class. Everyone kind of jumped at the idea of the Paladin shifting to a strength attribute, shifting to charisma because it fit. But the fighter, it was the Ranger as a strength was it was a lot of arguing, a lot of debate.
Yeah, that was it. So there were camps for the Ranger in strength, camps for Rangers in dexterity, and camps for Rangers in constitution, because when you take the natural classes in the player's handbook, there's not necessarily a natural constitution class. Even the monk, you could make arguments. There were arguments for dexterity, but so the Rangers had various camps. And if we moved, there was arguments to move the Ranger to be the prime class for Constitution. And I don't think me or Davis, either one of us agreed with that, but there were people within the message boards and some other people that were arguing for that, and they wanted us to move the Paladin to strength. But because we really wanted to beef up the charisma attribute, me and Davis were pretty insistent on keeping Paladin in charisma. And again, it goes with the first edition in that edition, the requisite was you had to have a 17 charisma or you couldn't play the class. And back in those days, we stuck to those lines strictly. It wasn't like it is today where everybody gets to play whatever they want, whatever class, whatever race and class. We stuck to the first edition rules. And we're trying to keep with that, at least in spirit, because we thought there was a real market out there for that was lacking in the current gaming environment at the time.
Yeah, and there was other part of what was going on. And I just want to throw this out. Anyone have any questions about Castles and Crusades? Now's a great time to ask it. Now, Mac and I have had a conversation earlier today. We're going to try to do this again. We kind of dropped this on Mac at the last minute, and that's why a lot of the tech's not working, because we had to bring in his configuration. So this is kind of on me for not hollering at him earlier, and we're going to try to do it later. But if you have any questions, definitely throw it into the feed here. Okay, so here's the first one. Did you ask me something, Mac? I was reading something Tim was texting me.
No.
Okay, so here's the first question. Saving throws in CNC don't scale the same at higher levels as in D&D. I'm curious what Gary's thoughts were on that. CNC largely feels like a streamlined and improved 1E, but the saving throws were a big change.
Is that a question for me?
Yeah, either one of us. I can take it if you want. Because Gary really, just to let folks know, Gary really didn't have... What we did with Gary, so there was the three major motivations for creating Castles and Crusades. One, Mac and Davis really... we lost Mac. Mac and Davis really wanted...
I'm still here. I'll be right back.
Okay. Mac and Davis wanted to create a role-playing game, and we had been in business for about 3 or 4 years, so that was part of what they wanted to do. A second motivation was D20. We knew that it was going to go... the market was getting saturated, and that was going to be a problem. And I was never really enthusiastic about the game, so we needed something that I could be enthusiastic about, which means it's going to have to be something that I'm very happy playing, which means it's got to be simple. And that kind of dovetailed very nicely with Davis and Mac's kind of concepts of what was going forward. And simultaneously, Gary Gygax was looking for a system to publish Castles Agig with. And so we were kind of tailoring it to that, which meant basically when we created the rules, when we were done with them, we would send them to Gary, and Gary would have to give the thumbs up that it would work for him. So Gary had a huge influence on CNC. There is no doubt. But I remember him rejecting one thing, but it actually wasn't part of the game. It was a rumor that had gotten kicked up on the internet. I'd have to get into my emails to see what that was. I can't remember now. But he was quite irate. But when I told him that's not going in the book, he was fine. So though Gary had influence in it, I think it followed the 1E pattern enough that he was certainly happy with it.
Yeah, from my perspective, and I think Davis's perspective, we wanted Gary's blessing, but we were not trying to recreate 1E. We were trying to create a new game for a for the current gaming audiences out there at the time, and also the people who had played every edition, going back to the original box set, basic and expert, first edition, second edition, third edition, and so I don't know how to state it, but we were trying to create a new game, so everything is not going to match up with 1E. That was not our goal. Our goal was to get the spirit of 1E and make it compatible if you wanted to use 1E and use CNC products, but we wanted to create a new, unique game for the times. And I think it spawned a lot of successors in the OSR, so I think we succeeded.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, and that's the perfect way to put it. Is we wanted to capture that spirit because when you're of AD&D, when you're playing first edition. Now I can't speak for the earlier ones like Expert, and I hardly played those. If at all, I hardly played them. I went from the little brown books to AD&D. So the stuff that came in the middle. I know Mac played more of that, but we're certainly looking for that spirit of a game that was very free flowing, very easy to comprehend, and this was a critical part, and we certainly pushed this in the beginning, that the GM had more control than had been relinquished in third edition and would go on to be more relinquished in later editions. So that was a huge part of the motivation. So it was to capture the spirit, but to make something that was extremely logical, kind of throughout. And that's what when Mac and Davis created the Siege engine, that's what we ended up with. Because it is crazy logical. So that leads us into the next question, Mac. How did you arrive at the DC-18, or in our terms it would be challenge base CB-18? So the 12-18, where did that come from?
Well, I'm trying to remember. We had various variations that we worked with in different permutations of what eventually became the Siege engine. I think at one point we were working from a kind of a reverse THACO where it was just a 20 target number, if I remember, Steve. But I think
there was a 15-13.
I remember how we settled on the 12-18. To be honest, I think we were trying to work out some of the probabilities of first edition, and of course they don't always work out to any logical extent. But we wanted I think in the end we wanted a game that kind of recreated what we did, and by the probabilities and the percentages, we wanted a slightly heroic game, right? So with the primes and using 12 if you have the prime, I think that worked out as a good basis for a first level character with a prime attribute. That's how I kind of remember it.
I remember there was I do remember a 15, was it 15-20, and then there was another one like 13 something, I can't remember. There's quite I remember you guys went around and round on that a lot.
Yes.
Before you settled on the 12-18, and we need Davis in there because he remembers those stats well because you guys ran numbers a lot, and there was a very specific reason you settled on the +6. I remember that. But I don't remember.
Yeah, we started with just doing like a 20 and you get the plus, but then we went to the 15-20. I remember that, but we thought the 15 was a bit high for what the level of success we were shooting for. And then the 12-18 came in. I really don't remember how we arrived at that, but
it was a lot of.
Went through a long period. I think we said 2003, Steve. I'm not sure we started in 2002.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Because we went through a lot of stuff about what eventually became the Siege engine.
Yeah. It went on for a while. We released the first version of CNC was released at Gen Con, so that would have been in August in 2004. So it probably was 2002 that you guys started putting it together. It was a while back.
Yeah, because I remember, it had to be at least a year where me and Davis were working on it every night. Even if we weren't on writing stuff, he would come over, because at the time he lived across the street, right? So, he'd come over about 8:30, 9 o'clock, and we'd sit on the front porch, and we would hash out stuff. And then, he would go home and ride, and I could go home and ride, and then we talk the next day, and then the next night we meet up again, and we discuss things again about the concepts and fine tuning stuff. And then, like you said earlier, we send it over to you, and if you rejected on the first go around, then we went back to the drawing board.
Yeah, and that was really just to make it simple. I don't remember arguing with you guys about anything other than whether McDonald's is better than Burger King. That's really the only argument I remember.
Yeah, no, we didn't really have any arguments.
Nah, I remember it being a pretty. It was a long time, but I remember it being pretty easy going. So the next question: what is your favorite class and race to play, Mac?
Well, so early on in my gaming, my favorite race and class to play would be a Hobbit thief, and yes, I am saying a Hobbit, and I'm saying thief.
Shh.
But after that would be human wizard, which is very detailed in the Codex of Air, playing Aristobulus. I remember. I think the first time I played with Steve, Steve, correct me if this is wrong. So the first time I played with Steve, I showed up, and I don't know, what was that? Sixth grade, seventh grade? I don't know what it was. Eighth grade maybe. And he had no idea who I was. I think Todd had brought me in because I came through a mutual friend. And he said, "What are you going to play?" I said, "I'm playing a human wizard." And he was like, "Okay." He's like, "People don't usually play wizards in my game." I said, "Okay." I said, "I'm playing a human wizard, and letting you know, my character will become a god." So he kind of looked at me like, "Yeah, okay, you're gonna be like dead within the first 10 minutes." And but like I said, kind of took over the games, and I think that's what happened, right?
Yeah, he eventually did become a god. He actually, he was young enough that when he came out there, he didn't tell his mother, and then he got grounded because he disappeared from the game for like 4 weeks. I remember that was because you came out. Then you started coming out on your motorcycle. He had a real small motorcycle that he'd come out. Those were different days back then. But yeah, that's about how that got started. And indeed, Aristobulus is a god in the Codex of Air. I see another question. Was there a debate about adding one's level to each role, and what made you decide on
that? Was there a debate? I don't know if there was a debate.
I don't. Yeah.
I think that was. Honestly, I think that was my idea. If I remember correctly, maybe I'm wrong. I'd always had that idea in mind, especially since we were trying to move to a unified. A unified mechanic, you have to take into account the character's level, and I want it to be objective, not all the different types of things in 1E. There's all these different types of rule sets that don't mesh. And me and Davis, the one thing we wanted to do was make sure a unified mechanic that meshes with the entire game and runs the entire game. And I want a heroic type game. That's the type of games I like, the type of games I play. Conan's a prime example, Elric. So as you progress in level, you want that there's something that has to take into account the level of the character, and also you have to think about like back in like 3E and stuff. The what's the term they had where the diametrically opposed rows or whatever, I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah.
We didn't want any of that. But we wanted the ability to.
Mac, we're losing you.
I know. Okay.
Right.
Wanted a way to incorporate. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. We wanted a way to incorporate so an 18th level character against a second level character or whatever. Clearly, the 18th level character would have an advantage, right? And there were actually instances in 1E where that did not occur by the rules. So I don't remember what the inspiration was for it, but I always wanted it to be in there. I think there may have been an argument with Davis, but I don't think so.
I remember
that
that
pretty much agreed with it.
Yeah, I remember that being a really good and kind of key part to what you know, the more you adventure, that's reflected in your level, and then the level reflects on how you can succeed at whatever task you're hacking away at. So I think that just went over real smoothly. Let's see, question. I noticed that spellcasting for some of the classes that existed in 1E was removed in base CNC and added to optional rules. What was the motivation for that? So why did we kill the spellcasting on the Ranger and the Paladin, and that was it?
Yeah. I mean, why did they not get spells?
Right, in CNC, because remember in 1E you get them at some level. I can't remember.
Well, I mean, those were added in the CKG, right?
Adventurer's Backpack, yeah.
Okay. I don't remember specifically why we killed those spells, except for the fact that me and Davis basically wanted to cap out the classes at either 12 or 13 level, right? And
yeah. That's probably what that...
Pardon?
You there?
You hear me?
Barely. We're getting some hellacious feedback from somewhere.
I don't know what's causing it, but...
Okay, yeah, it's breaking apart, Mac.
Okay.
Let's see if we can't. I don't know if that's me or you. I have no idea. It's just troll lording. That's all it is. This is what happens when you troll lord. All right, I don't see any other questions. I know there's a couple, but now I can't find them because I've got myself off the stream all over the place. Let's see, there was another one in here somewhere.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you're there. Was there ever a discussion of equaling the target number versus being more than the target number? Wait, what? Was there? I'm not sure I understand that question. Eat to surf. Was there ever a discussion of equaling the target number versus being more than the target number? Oh, so if you equal your target number, you make it. You make the check. I'm not sure if I understand that question.
I think he's saying, was there a discussion where you had to get above the target number or equal or above?
Yeah.
No, it was always equal or above. I think that's a logical conclusion. I don't think you would want to go where it was above. I think that could be confusing to a novice player.
And it really actually is, it's a huge thing. I mean, that 1 point is actually a gigantic thing, as we all know when you're making those checks. What is that, 5%? And it doesn't sound like much when you say it, but it's a lot. That's interesting. All right, I think we're going to wind this down. We got to start the game at 7, and I want to regroup anyways and get that going.
Yeah.
So, you know, Mac and I talked, I mentioned this earlier, we talked about doing a longer one of these streams when he and I can kind of plan it out and we can get all the tech working beforehand. And that way we can sit and Mac can really dive into answering a bunch of these questions. When you ask me origins of rules questions, I don't know, I wasn't involved. But Mac's certainly the guy to do that, and he even goes way back to the founding of the company. So let's plan on that in the next 3 weeks. Do what, Mac?
Get the technology worked out. Let's redo this again. We can write down some of these questions and we'll come back and revisit them.
Yeah, that sounds great. And then it'll go a lot smoother. And then we can set it up so you can see the stream too, so you can see as people are commenting, and that just makes it easier.
Yeah, if anybody wants to submit questions ahead of time, I can go back and I still have notes for those days. I can go back and look at my notes and see what I have there. So because some of this stuff I just can't remember because it's what 20 years ago now almost. So.
Yes. Yeah, damn close to it. All right, so with that, I'm gonna log off, and Chuck's gonna take over and get us back on for the game at 7, and we'll reconvene later. Thanks a lot.
Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye.
All right, so I'm going to stop streaming. Hang out, gentlemen. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, sorry about that. All right, out.